Welcome everyone to Soul Focus, and this is my very special guest, Mirantha. How are you today?
I'm real good, thanks, mate.
I
promised I'd behave myself, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
I don't know how to. I have tried many times. Just doesn't.
That's okay. We've got a spaceship here. We'll get them to.
Yeah, they'll have to come and get me if I'm naughty.
Yeah, that's it.
I said if I misbehave and I'm a little turd, they can come and get me. So they'll probably come and get me.
What's the worst that can happen? They'll leave you on
I'll
the
have a damn good time.
Well, you have a damn good time.
I'll have a damn good time. I ain't coming back. I'm just sharing my last one. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. That's okay. Well, welcome everyone to Soul Focus. This is Mirantha. And Mirantha, why don't you tell the people what you do?
I like Tim Tams.
You like Tim Tams?
I like cake. I am, I suppose, I am a psychic medium.
Yep.
I'm a galactic channel healer. Mother Mary vibration, Blu-ray. So, in other words, I work with the Christ consciousness energy. So it's unifying the heart chakra, open the heart chakra for everybody to be connected. So, a bit of everything, really. Jack of all trades. Whatever they give me, I will do. Hopefully.
Yep.
Well.
So, how did you get started on the spiritual path? When did it all start for you?
Oh, well, I was a late bloomer. So when I was young, I have always been very introverted, very shy, and very, very different. So I just always had this odd feeling of I wasn't from here, and I didn't know why. Now, I knew I had family and parents and all the normal things everyone else has and people in your life, but I just didn't relate to anybody. I couldn't. It was almost like I felt like I spoke a different language on the inside, if that makes sense. I didn't feel the same. And I wasn't the sort of person who went out drinking, running amok, parties, things like that. I couldn't. I was hypersensitive. I couldn't handle noise. I couldn't handle general everyday conversations. It was just something I couldn't do. And it's not that I didn't want to. My whole insides would go no, and I couldn't stop it. So when I was young, it took a while for me to realize it. But as I got a little bit older, probably preteen, I just found that I could feel things and I didn't know what they were. So I could feel people's emotions. I could feel whether they were, say, if they're in a good mood or otherwise. I could tell immediately that that wasn't the case. So I could feel their true, who they were, how they were feeling, what was not right, no matter what the face they put on. And I was young, so I had no idea what that meant. So I couldn't relate it to anything.
That would have been very confusing at that age.
Extremely confusing, because you go, well, I had no one to turn to explain to me why I felt that way and what was I picking up. So the way it affected me is it started to affect my health. So I became I'm not a sickly child. I'm not the sort of person who gets sick, but I started having a lot of just childhood stuff like every other kid has, tonsillitis, but all sorts of things. But I just found that my energy, I couldn't contain my energy. It would drop all the time. So I always felt like I just wasn't right. I couldn't keep my energy up. I couldn't keep myself sort of emotionally even together. So I just sort of wandered around a bit like a lost lamb and didn't know where to fit into. And I didn't have any trouble with people liking me or not being the person that people want around. It was me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't be in a big crowd or a party or large amount of friends without absorbing something. And I would either absorb. So if they had problems, I'd absorb that. If they had something wrong, I'd absorb it. Whatever mood they're in, I would absorb it, and I couldn't get it out. So I'd get tired, or I'd feel emotional, or I'd get a bit confused. So I had no one to turn to, because I came from not that we're Christian, but I came from a Catholic upbringing.
Yep.
So I'd been through all the ritualistic stuff of married to Jesus, wearing the wedding dress as a child, baptized, all that sort of stuff. So because of that, even though it wasn't anything bad about it, it came from mostly my grandparents. They were lovely people, beautiful people, very English. My grandfather was English, so they're very quiet, very loving, very lovely people. But I still couldn't turn to them either.
So they just shut you down.
Well, it's not that I don't think they would have shut me down, because they were very protective over me. They knew there was something different about me. So I used to spend a lot of time with them when I was very, very young. So they were a good influence on me like that, because they taught me just to be myself.
Yep.
But if I'd said anything to them, maybe they would have gone, what's wrong here? And I might have upset them a bit. So I just kept it to myself. And I stayed that way. So to be able to cope like that, I used to spend a lot of time on my own, outdoors. I used to ride my bike all the time, roller skate like everyone else used to do. But I used to have to go somewhere. So because I wasn't born in Australia, I'm a New Zealander, I'm a Kiwi. So luckily for me, being such a green, beautiful country, it was a perfect place for me when I was a kid, because I could just go anywhere in nature I wanted to. I could ride for 2 hours if I wanted to and find a place to be. And I'd just do things like that. And I'd spend time with myself, because that's the only way that I could settle myself down, especially the nerves and the anxieties and the stress that I used to absorb. I couldn't contain that. So I had to go and do something on my own to get away from it. So
that would have made you feel like a real loner.
Very much so. Absolute loner. I realised it took me a long time to realise that I was, probably till I was about maybe 15, that I realised that's what I was. And it was pretty much forced upon me. It's not as if I had a choice to be that person. It seemed in my life, everywhere and everything I did at any age, it was almost ordained. So every decision I made, no matter what age I was, where I went, who I tried to connect with, was always ordained, or the door was closed. So I just kind of lived a weird life in that way, where sometimes I didn't even feel like I got a choice. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like my life was not controlled, but ordained in some way. And it was very confusing as to why, because there was nothing special about me. I'm just come from an average family. As I said, Catholicism. There was nothing going on that was special. You know what I mean?
So have you got any weird examples or that stand out of things being closed down and things being opened up?
Probably not through those years, when my teenage years and things like that. Besides all that, it was pretty normal.
Yep.
Normal family, normal upbringing, everything like that. It wasn't till later in my life, because like I said, I was a late bloomer, and I didn't know that I had what any of this was. I didn't know anything about psychicism. I didn't know about being an empath, healers, spirituality, nothing. I knew nothing. But I always had a love for alien stuff. So sci-fi. Anything that was weird, I was drawn to. Anything as weird as possible, I was like, it was like a drug for me. Not as in I've got to have it, but just as in I loved it. So I kind of escaped into that sort of place of, okay, well, I've got to find something that I'm interested in that's a bit different then. So I didn't go into anything spiritual, because I didn't know anything about it. So there was nothing there for me. So I was, again, on my own to just work it out. I had to just live it, and I had to just work it out as I went along. So I went into, like everyone else, normal work. I worked in tourism. I worked up and down the Murray River on the big paddle steamers. I did all that and hated every minute of it, basically, because, again, the only good thing about working in that tourism environment was that I got to talk to people, and I got to relate, and I got to I was the sort of person who was an observer, so I'd sit around and I'd watch people all the time. So it was a perfect job for me to learn what I know today, because I would sit and just watch people, how they behave, what they did right, what they did wrong. It was almost like I was at school all the time learning something. And like I said, I never had problem with people not liking me. That was the weird part. I thought I was unlikable because I was so introverted. but it was always the opposite for me. So that was very confusing. So I was sort of like, well, if I'm an introverted, weird person, why do they like me then?
Yeah,
I couldn't
because
figure it
usually
out. Usually
you're
the
the
opposite.
shadows in the corner. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like babies in the corner. Don't put baby in the corner stuff, you know.
Yep.
So yeah, that was odd. So I just floated along like that for ages. Like I just was a normal, everyday person, normal things. But I was always, even though I was in the environment of like tourism and on the boats and all that jazz, because we had to entertain all the time, so you had to dancing. You're 24/7. You were on. You know, there was no off for you. Lucky if you got to sleep. So it was a full on position to have. But there was never anybody around me that I could talk to about being weird and different.
Yep.
So I always still felt alone inside. I felt that I would relate to one or two people that might have been a little bit like me as I went along, because you sort of, every so often you'll find someone who's a bit like that, and they don't fit in either. So we'd talk about it. And why don't you fit in? I don't know. Why don't you fit in? I don't know. And you'd share it, you know, and that's about all it was. There was nothing major that happened during any of that at any time, anything weird or nothing. So it was basically normal.
When did things start to shift for you then?
Well,
when you started piecing it together?
Yeah, well, my first odd experience, funny enough, was on the Murray River. I was on the paddle stem, the big one, the big Princess and the Queen. I was on both. So one evening, and this is what started it for me when I knew that I really had a love of something. We were sitting on top of the boat, looking out the stars. We were stuck in the middle of the bloody river on the way to Adelaide. The water was low. We got trapped for 2 weeks. And we were sitting up on the top deck and we were looking at the stars, because out there it's so pitch black, you see everything. And we were just making little jokes about weird things, you know, and I just thought, they're interested, but they're not sure what to say. I knew inside that they were really curious. And I thought to myself, don't go there, don't say anything, because you're practically living with these people right now. You don't want them to think you're any weirder. So I didn't say anything. But we looked up one night, and as we looked up in the stars, we saw some very odd objects going on up there that were unexplainable. So we thought they were shooting stars, but the thing is, shooting stars don't act like that. There was there was a good 6, 7, 8 of something going on up there. So that was my first very weird experience, I must say. Still can't explain it to this day, but we all knew. And everyone that was with me was average Joe people that would never enter the thought of that's real. So that was probably my first odd experience. And we saw something out in the middle of Australia that we'll never, ever understand what that was. But we knew, when we all looked at each other, we knew very well that was something strange. That was my first, what the shit is that? And I remember getting excited.
Yep.
And I remember being, something about that was familiar to me. So, yeah, so that was the first little weird thing I had. But it wasn't till probably about the age of, as I said, I'm a late bloomer. I didn't even know I had any abilities. I just knew there was things going on I couldn't explain. So about the age of 28, I met somebody, and I was kind of curious about spirituality and odd things, but I didn't really do anything about it. And I met this person. Now, she was very different. I actually was living in the same area that she was, so we were sort of part of each other's life, kind of. And at that time, I decided to go looking around a little bit, and I went to the local, spiritual place where they all gather and do their drumming and meditation and all that jazz. And I thought, well, you know what? I'll go and have a look. What the hell? I've got nothing to lose, right? So I said to her, do you think I should go and do that? And she said, well, you can try, I suppose. So I went and did that. I didn't fit in there either. I couldn't relate to a lot of the inner fighting and bitching and moaning and who was the biggest guru in the room sort of stuff. Yeah. So after a few months, I gave up with that as well, because I went, well, that's not my place either. So I tried all that. But she was I wouldn't say she was a very gifted person or very sort of spiritual in a way. She was into sort of witchcraft and things like that, which intrigued me. I thought, oh, how cool is that? Witchcraft. Oh, well, that must be. And then Then she said she was this and that, and I thought, okay, well, she might be a bit interesting. Maybe she can help me understand who I am. But that didn't work out very well, because I eventually found out that there was things that she was into and doing that were unethical and extremely dark. Yes, and by then I was becoming quite curious about who I am and what my abilities were, because I was starting to say things to people. While she was doing her work, I was her office girl. So I was starting to say things to people that people would say to me, how do you know that? Yes, that's true. How do you know that I feel like that? How do you know that that's what's going to happen for me? And it started just coming out of me a little bit, because I was in the environment to actually talk about it. You know what I mean? But unfortunately for me, she tried to be sort of a mentor for me and a teacher. But I'm the sort of person who asks questions a lot. I always will. Why is that? What does that mean? Why do you do that? What do you not think that perhaps that might be harming someone? So we eventually didn't mesh, because I keep asking too many questions, and I keep questioning behavior. Why do you behave like that? Why do you do that to people? Do you think that's right? Should you be doing that? That doesn't seem right to me, you know? And in my gut inside me was keep giving me little red flaggies saying, there's something wrong here. This is not where you're supposed to be. I thought, shit, here we go again. I'm on my own, you know? So I relied a little bit too heavily on her telling me whether I was right, wrong, or good enough. I gave myself away because I was so shy. I was a sort of person who was just a bit of I had trouble saying no to people, you know what I mean? Because I didn't want to hurt anybody, and I didn't want them to be upset with me. So she was my lesson to toughen up, because it got to the point where, after I saw what she was doing all the time and how she was treating people, and calling herself a spiritual light worker, I knew that wasn't true. And it was probably one of the worst things I'd seen a spiritual person do to other people. It was so dark. And I learned a lot from that. I learned about how not to be, what not to believe in, and spiritually how to become stronger and believe in myself. You don't have to be like someone else, because I thought, by what she told me and was trying to teach me, hey, James, that I was supposed to be like her. That's how you learn. You have to be like me. You have to be a little mini me. So I got hurt and I got crushed, because I'd given so much and helped so much for her while she was going through her stuff. And it put me off completely.
Yep.
Really did. It made me think that spirituality was not worth a dime, and it was just full of people that were out for to be the biggest gurus and the biggest egos and who was the best on the planet, and all they did was fight each other, trying to get on top. You know what I mean? So it still happens to this day. It happens everywhere. I'm running across it all the time, and I got disillusioned, and I lost that belief in myself, you know, and I didn't even get a chance to grow and become who I really am. It kind of suffocated me, and it broke me. She broke me in half, basically, because she was so cruel about it and so mean towards the fact that I wouldn't follow her and I wouldn't do as I was told, because that's what it was about. You do as you're told. I've told you type attitude, and I'm your guru. That I was hurt by her. She literally broke my heart because of the way she carried on. And so I walked away. I went, well, this is all it's about. I'm not interested. Fuck it. I'm done. You know what I mean? If this is my introduction into this is who I'm going to be, and that's how you're supposed to be, because that's all I knew. I was only being knew by what I was being told, and that's what she told me. If that's the person I'm supposed to be, I can't be that. It's not inside me. I'm not born that way. I'm not made that way to be like that. It's to me, it's a line crosser.
Well, that internal compass, you know.
Absolutely.
If you keep bending that needle on it,
it's going to come back and bite in the ass, I can tell you. So, and the beautiful thing about it, it's all lessons, right? So the beautiful thing about watching her and what I had to go through with her, the torment that it caused me, I learned so much. I learned behavior, I learned psychology, I learned what is right and what you should and shouldn't do, and how when you're gifted or when you're in tune to the creator works through you like that, you have a responsibility to be a type of person. You can't be in your ego like that. You can't be surrendering to everybody and being how they want you to be. You have to honor yourself. And it took me a number of years to get through that. Like, it really completely fucked me. Like, it made me angry. It made me confused. I hated myself. I felt guilty. It was just all too much for me to handle because, like I said, introverted. So everything I do, if I make a mistake, I implode. So I imploded. And so it wasn't a pleasant experience for me. I can tell you now, my beginning of my journey was not a blessing. It was complete opposite.
Did you actually walk away after that for a while, or?
Yeah, well, I actually helped her quite a bit too, because karma bites you in the ass. I don't actually follow any sort of real belief system, karmas, all that shit, but I watched what she did to herself by being that type of person. I watched her destroy herself. I watched her destroy her health. She ended up with breast cancer. I watched her destroy her marriage. I watched her destroy her money, and pretty much made herself homeless. And I knew, I remember trying to help her and save her. I supported her in any way I could, because that's the sort of person I am. I'll go to war, and I'll go to war for you if you're worth saving. You know what I mean? I'll go to bat for you. And and at the end of it, I didn't even get a thank you. I didn't get I'm so grateful for you. I got nothing. I got a cold kick in the ass and told to fuck off. So that was my reward. So you can imagine after that how I felt about spirituality and spiritual people. I'd had a gutful. And I thought, you know what? If this is the only way to enlightenment, you can stick it up your ass. I'm not doing it. And I remember saying to myself, because I sort of had a belief that perhaps there was something other than me that I was talking to. But by then I'd had enough. And I more or less said, well, this is what it is. You can go and get raided.
Yeah.
I'm not going there.
Whatever.
You can take it and stick it somewhere else, because you ain't sticking it in me. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I got pretty angry. And you can't blame me for that, for giving everything that I had. My heart was too wide open anyway. So I learnt the lesson there. Your heart's too open and you're too giving. You're not protecting yourself. You're not in your own sovereignty. You're looking after yourself. I just gave everything away all the time. I gave my energy away. I gave my heart away. I gave everything away because I thought you were supposed to. I thought to be a good person and be spiritual and connected, you're supposed to just be a giver. But I learnt the hard way, and I got a pretty big stick for it. And never again, I can assure you of that. So yeah, that was pretty hard. So that was around about 28 to 30. So it was fast. It was a fast lesson. I do find that when I'm learning, I'm lucky now that a lot of it isn't as hard and like that. I find that it's the other way now, because I've learned so much in 20 years. But back then, everything was hard and fast for me. So anybody in my life, any situation in my life, anything that I wanted to do was hard and fast. I'm the sort of person who goes, I want to learn everything, and I want to learn it now. Me and my big mouth. So they said, yep, no worries, here you go.
Yep. Rookie mistake.
Big rookie mistake. Don't do it. Don't be me. Don't go, what's next? I'll learn not to say that. You know what I mean? Because it's all right when you're here where I am now, and everything is instant in a fantastic way. It's positive, but not back then when you're learning, because you got no idea what you're asking for. You got no idea what you're connected to. You don't even know who you are. So you're flapping in the breeze asking for this, that, and everything else. And they go, no worries, I'll give you it all. They'll give it to you. But it's not probably how you think it's going to be. So big rookie mistake. So, yeah. And then it wasn't long after that, I met my other half, who's my twin. That was also ordained. I wasn't looking for anybody. I wasn't interested. I was all Miss Independent and doing my own thing, trying to survive. And they went, no, you're not, and threw a man at me. So I was like, well, I didn't want that. again, no choice. I got told. It's like, well, hang on a minute. Who am I then? Who am I if that in my life I'm not getting choices? That you're just telling me this is my journey, this is how you're going to do it, this is the reason for it, and here you go. I'm like, but why? Don't I get a yes here? And they're like, nah, no choice. I've got a very strange life. I can assure you of that. Like, no matter what it is, I can ask for stuff and they'll do it. But when it comes to the larger side of my life, which is to do with who I am and why I'm here, they're in control, no matter what. And it's always been like that my whole life. So figure. I don't know.
Go with it now, do you?
I just go with it now. I don't even argue anymore. I just go, oh, yeah, righto. What's the point? What's the point? They're just like, free will my ass. They go on about everything's all free will. I go, bullshit. It is not when you get to a certain point in your journey and you get to a certain elevation and stuff. Like,
you got stuff to do.
You got stuff to do. Yep. And they tell you otherwise. And you go, well, how about if I go left? They go, no, we haven't planned left. Keep going. So I'm just like, oh, really? So I'm kind of that sort of person.
But I'm low on petrol.
But I'm low on petrol. And they go, they don't care. But anyway, so when I met my hubby, he was a very different man. He'd been through a lot. And but he was a natural, oh gosh, what would you call him? He was a natural healer. He was a little bit into religious psychology. He had a natural ability to understand not religious per se, but religion. So he could break down, mate, you could ask him anything about anything to do that's in the Bible or to do with any religious text or information, and he would go, blah, 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 that's what that means. And it would be completely nothing to do with dogma whatsoever, what's written. And I used to look at him, natural channel or something.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So and
I go, how do you know that? Eh?
Was he a Carl Jung fan?
No, not at that time. He had picked up some stuff once or twice on his journey with that. But he just had this natural, he would download it. He can download anything.
Wow.
And he wasn't taught anything either. He's like myself. He's just walked the path, you know. And then from that, he also was what would you call him? He's a healer, okay? But I call him the Jesus. And the reason I call him that is because he doesn't do it anymore, and there's a reason for that, but he has an ability where the reason I call him Jesus, he can raise the dead. He has laid hands and healed people, even from a distance, who have been on the hospital bed in their last days and their last breath, and have called him and gone, I don't want to die. Can you do something about it? And he would go into his little place, and even the doctors have said, I don't know how the hell so-and-so has come out of here, because we were going goodbye. And he just was able to move mountains with whatever ability he has. So watching him do that was interesting. It wasn't easy for him. Yeah. And he started that out through massage and things like that. He learned massage. He taught himself. We both have done massage. But he used to be able to see inside the body, and he would see energy moving around and organs and things like that. And it started out like that for him. But then it came in rapidly for him. He was just able to do anything for anybody, to heal for anything, no matter what it was. Mind-blowing. I still don't understand it to this day. I just know that he could. But he found it very, very difficult, because it got to the point where he realized that the more he did for people, the more he gave and the more he healed, the more they took. And he realized that he was doing so much for them all the time that they wouldn't walk their own journey. So there was a few there that he healed that, okay, they're healed, they're up walking around, it's a miracle, blah, blah, blah. But they go back to exactly the same person they were before he healed them. They
didn't honor it.
Didn't honor it and didn't change. And he found that very hard to handle. And it became eventually very draining for him. and took too much out of him. He couldn't handle it anymore. So
Yep.
he asked for it to be removed. And I totally understand that. When you've got a responsibility like that, whatever they gave to him and for him to do such a thing, I don't know of many people that can do what he did. I think it's a rarity. Yeah, so like I said, I've seen him do things that I can't even explain. So it became a burden. It became something that he realised, and there was a few people there that he did help, like the one that was on. There was a couple, but this one that was on his deathbed. When he returned, he returned worse than the person he was before, and he found that very difficult to face, to see this person become worse, that they didn't change. They didn't even realise that they received such a miracle, that they were supposed to get up and make a change, not get worse than who they were and become a darker, uglier person. And my husband is very empathic and very loving. So for him to witness things like that, he said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I can't give that much anymore. They're taking too much from me. They're disrespecting what I'm giving. So he asked to be shut down, and they shut him down. He went no more. So that was another thing that I got to experience that was unusual in my life, that I met somebody who, without even knowing who he was, because he was a bricklayer. He worked in the building industry. He's just a bloke's bloke. To go and do massage and then start doing miracles just like that, you don't hear of that stuff. That's right out there in left field stuff. So yeah, it was more than he could handle. And I know he still has it. I know it's not switched off, but I just know that he doesn't want it, and I respect him for that. I understand. So because it took him a long time to come out of that. He'd been through a lot himself. He had even died. He got a rare virus and died, and went over to the other side and came back. So he's had a lot of experience himself. And it took him a long time to get through all of that. So he eventually had to give up, because he went, well, I'm not going to survive if I don't heal myself and walk forward and stop giving it to everybody. You know what I mean? And I respect him for that. That's who he is, So he did that for a very long period of time. We're talking years before he got to that point where he couldn't do it anymore. So yeah, I honour that. And I honour the frustration that it caused him. So
yeah, I can imagine.
Oh, it was horrendous. And then by the time that he was a little bit on his feet again, after what he'd gone through from, dying and going over there and coming back, it eventuated that I got cancer. Because I spent so much time trying to help him and heal him and protect him. And at the time I was also helping other people, healing, protecting, massaging, reading, doing whatever. We both run out of life force. And mine came in as stress, and then I got T-cell lymphoma. So, and I actually saw that before it happened. He was working on me one afternoon because I wasn't feeling myself, and I saw this little rogue cell, like a black spot running through my, because I can see inside the body, so the blood corpuscles. I saw this little black one running down through the veins. I thought, I wonder what that is. That's unusual. Yeah, well, we found out what that was pretty much not long after. So the fact that I saw it didn't make any difference. It didn't stop it, and it didn't make any difference, the fact that I ended up with it. So, yeah, so I had to go through, we've gone through a lot. So that was my other weird experience, was getting cancer. In realising how, why I got it, what am I going to do about it, and what does it mean? Because I was getting to the stage in my life where, between what he had gone through and then what I was about to go through, we had witnessed and seen so many strange things during all of that by working with people, on people, so.
How do you mean strange things? Can you just elaborate on some of those?
Yeah, well, a lot of the work that I used to do, even to look after him and look after myself and help other people, I saw a lot of odd things, like what was living in people, what was wrong with people, not just the psychology side of it, not just their emotions. I got to see strange things like entities. I got to see walk-ins. I've witnessed a walk-in where someone, and we're not talking walk-in as in when the soul can pass over and then there's an exchange and they come back a little different. I'm talking while they're alive. I've seen an exchange and a walk-in happen where their personality can change, their voice can change. I've seen eyes
not like
go
a
black.
possession.
No. There is possession, yes. This is a sort of a walk-in thing where what happens is someone can, if you're an empath and you're not protecting yourself and you're not strong enough, you can get influenced. So people can target you and focus on you in a way that, especially if they're a little bit spiritual themselves or into the craft and things like that, and they can come at you in a way where they can walk into you and they can take you over on the inside a little bit. So it's almost that sort of thing, but a little different. And they can change how you think. They can change how you feel about yourself. I've heard of voice changes, and I've seen eyes go black. I've seen it all. So I've seen some very odd things, and I've seen odd things lying over people when they're traumatized. So, there's so much in here. I could go on for hours about what I've experienced, but by seeing that, I realize that people project when they're in trauma or they're traumatized or there's something wrong or they're sick. They can also project an image, and the image can represent what's wrong with them. So therefore, I can sometimes see odd things lying over the top of them or connected to them and things like that. And it's not always entities and darkness. A lot of the time it's just their projection of fear. So while I was going through, this is while I was sick, by the way, while I was doing cancer, I was still witnessing and experiencing things because I didn't sort of go, you do realise that you've got cancer, right? And you shouldn't really be helping anyone else. I still went out and pushed through, and when I had the energy and gave a little and things like that. So I got to see a lot of very strange things that, you could probably write a book on that. I was like, I think there's more to the human mind and what we're able to do to ourselves, whether it's good or bad, on many levels. We can project all sorts of things, all sorts of illusions that can create within us anything, sickness, mental disorders.
So how did you start to know all this stuff? Was it just?
It was. I walked it, mate. It's with me. Anything that I've learned, I've had to walk it. I've experienced it. So
what I mean is, did you learn it from anywhere, or you just felt to do something?
No, I was just told. I was always, this is the weird part of me, I was always just told. I was always just shown. Even when I was doing massage and healing and things like that, there was, and I didn't even know much then. I was just guessing. I used to have what I felt like was an Asian gentleman used to come in and out, and he would tell me different points in the body. So somebody would come in with something wrong with them, and he would tell me, no, you don't work there, you work up here. And it was the absolute opposite of what you're shown when you do massage and healing. It was the complete opposite of what is normal. And he would just tell me all the time of what people need and why and what to do about it. There was no if, buts or maybes. I was just told to do. And so I said, my whole life has been like that. My whole life has been ordained under instruction. I don't even think about it. If I get into the place and they come on in, whoever's working, they'll just show me basically. So I learnt massage just by being told. My husband showed me a couple of little things of what the body means, but the rest of it was just, it was channeled through me all the time. Wow. Do this, work here, show them this, tell them this, all this sort of stuff. And I didn't really believe in it at the time. I just thought maybe I was making it up and it was all in my head, that I was full of shit and things like that, until I started seeing results. And my first experience like that, my biggest one, is I worked on a lady who doesn't live here anymore. She wasn't far from me, a bit older than me, but she had MS. And I used to go to her place and I didn't have a freaking clue what I was doing. I was nervous. I was like, what the hell am I doing here? You can't bugger with people that are like this. They need a professional. But I used to work on her and I used to hold her and cradle her, just like Jesus used to, like a child. And I treated her like her inner child was damaged. And I just knew that that's what she needed and things like that. Now, I'm no fool. I didn't cure MS, but I got rid of her tremors and all the
Yep.
stuff that she struggled with, her symptoms. She told me not long after, when I saw her one day, that she thanked me because she said I gave her quality of life back. She no longer had tremors all the time. She felt so calm. She felt love for the first time in years. She had a relationship. Her life was back on track. And I remember going, I don't understand what's going on here. It doesn't make sense to me. How did that happen? Because I didn't see myself as anything. You know what I mean? I was just farting about, having a go.
Yeah.
So, so it was a big deal for me to experience all that. And I still didn't believe it. Believe it or not, I still didn't believe that I had any abilities whatsoever. So it was quite a struggle.
So where were you thinking at the time where all this information's coming from? I mean, how much did you
Well,
know?
I knew of some spiritual stuff because I'd heard other people talk about stuff, and I'm in a small town, so there's a community here, and I was aware of beliefs and things like that. But what started happening for me is that I started to believe in everything. So I kind of believed in bits of not religion, but the true religion, which is, the stuff we know that hasn't been buggered with and man's buggered with, the truth, And then I started sort of believing a bit in the understanding of Buddhism, where, you have to keep in control of your emotions and you have to walk the middle road and be this type of person. So I started borrowing little bits of personality from everything to try and figure out and create myself, because I didn't know what I was. I had not a clue. No one could tell me. No one believed me because I didn't belong to any groups, and I wasn't spiritual, so they didn't support it. All I got was aggression or refused or knocked back and things like that. So I just winged it. And I had no idea that what was going on was channeling. I had no idea that might have been psychic, medium, whatever.
Yep.
I just did it. They more or less just pushed me off a cliff and said, here you go, do this and see how you go. So there was no, how did I know? There was no, what do you think that is? That I just did it. And it started for me pretty much when the cancer came in. When I had to face who I was and why I got cancer and what is it about me I've got to work on to change to get out of here. I knew I had to fight for my life. And by fighting for my own life, that's when things started to change for me. That's when I started to realize there might be something else going on here that I need to investigate and figure out what it is. Because I was just flapping in the breeze. I had nowhere to go to find out why or what. I had no one to ask questions, I didn't get any of that support. There wasn't any, you know what I mean? Like I said, they're too busy bitching and fighting to help you. And so again, I was alone, I was just alone in that way. So
this must have been very frustrating.
Very frustrating. I was very angry because I felt like I'd been left out in the cold. I felt like I had no support. I felt like, well, who's going to help me? Who's going to explain it to me? Absolutely nothing and nobody. And even in my life, I didn't have the family support, friends, in-laws, nothing. There was nobody there that I could lean on and say, look, I'm experiencing all this. What does it mean? So the only way that I sort of got back on my feet and started to figure it out is that because I was married to a man who had his own experiences of all sorts of things the same, we started sharing and we talked about it all the time. We lived for it, So we talk about, what did you see? What did you feel? Do you think that's real? Do you think we're on the right track here? Why is this happening? And we started questioning pretty much each other and learning by asking each other questions. And then I started realizing that between the two of us, we both had information coming through us that it's not possible for anyone to know. How can anyone know this stuff? You've got to go, as far as I knew, you had to go do training, or you had to learn, you had to go somewhere for someone to tell you that, to switch you on and tell you that you're gifted or you're in this place. We didn't have, the pair of us never had that. So we relied on each other. So we had to learn to trust each other. We had to learn to work on all our fears together. We had to work on triggers together. We had to make it happen. We did, like I said, we didn't get a choice, ordained. We were told by a higher power than we understood. But because my hubby had a bit of an understanding of that religious doctrine and things like that,
Yep.
I think maybe he brung in with him that little bit of there's a higher power, but then I wasn't sure if I could trust it. You know what I mean? I didn't know if it was trustworthy because I didn't know what that meant. I didn't want to follow something or a god or whatever in case I became like all the people that I was meeting that terrified me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, I didn't know. I couldn't say that I was a person who just walked into whatever this is and life was a blessing. It was so easy. It was the absolute opposite. It was a war zone. So I went to the school of hard knocks. Basically, I had to live it. I had to feel it. I had to experience everything negative and hard first to understand that there might be something else. It was just the way it worked for me. I didn't have a choice. Like I said, no choice. They made me walk that path. They made me see everything in the worst possible way, and then they made me see it in the best possible way for me to understand and realize there's something other than just myself. Because I wasn't in control of any of this. They go that you write your contract before you come in and blah, blah, blah. But yes, you do. But by what I was noticing in my life, I didn't have control over a lot of that. I had control over how I handle it and how I behave, but I didn't have control on a lot of other stuff. So, yeah, it was very strange for years and years. Like it was a nightmare. So, yeah.
How long were you and hubby doing that, feeding off each other?
We still do to this very day.
You still do, but how many years ago did that start?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think it's 8 years or so clear.
Yep.
I did one cancer treatment, and I knew that by what they told me, that it was all going to be all over Red Rover. But I also knew, because of the trouble we were having with the system, that they were going to kill me. So it was around about that time when I realised that if I don't get up and fight for my own life and sort my shit out, we're in trouble. So we sort of started around that time when I had to get up. It was almost like he was waiting for me to get up on my feet so that we could do that. You know what I mean? I had to get up because I'm the protector. I'm the one who stands in front of us to protect us. So that's my job. So I had to get up and I had to face, and then I had to see and realise that there's something going on here. There's something about both of us, but about myself, and I had to look at it and see why and what that was. And it's not that a lot happened or a lot changed in that time. Yeah. All it was is that I started to become more accepting of it. So I learnt to eventually, no matter what I was going through and the fight that I was fighting, which is my life, I had to surrender in some way. I had to surrender everything, my personality, how I saw myself, how I saw the world, how I saw my marriage, everything. Every single thing, I had to face it all, and I had to deal with it, and I had to work real hard to believe that there was more to life and more to whatever this was than just me. So it was like I was not allowed to focus on myself. I had to learn to fix myself and then focus and surrender on everything else around me. So it was like I had a job to do. I had to do the right thing for myself and my husband, but my whole life I had to face everything about who I was and why I was here. And it took a number of years for me to get through that, because I'd run out of energy. I'd run out of life force, and so had my husband. So we were pretty much coming back from our hands and knees to get to that. You know what I mean? So we were fighting a war. We were fighting a lot of certain people, a lot of belief systems. We had a lot of things going on around us that we had to battle, but through that battle, we learnt what we've learnt today, and to face the fact that there is something other than just us as human beings. that we were more than that, you know.
So when you got to that point of surrender, was that like 8 years ago?
It started then, I suppose.
Yep.
It probably started when I screamed into a pillow at 1 o'clock in the morning to myself and swore like a trooper and a sailor and begged myself to get the fuck up and fight and do the right thing.
Yep.
So it kind of started about there, and it went through probably a couple of years, I'd say 5 years even, till I got to that end result of you have to surrender. You have to surrender everything about you. Otherwise, you won't make it. And everything that you want to be and everything that you are working hard to become and to believe in yourself and find out even if you have any abilities, because I still didn't believe that I did. I thought it was all in my head. I thought I was nuts. Yep. I honestly did. Even though I was going through all that, I still did not believe that I had any worth and I had any abilities whatsoever. It was a huge fight for me to believe in myself, I can tell you. It was not given overnight. So
when did you start to like get your self-worth and all that? Was that after you surrendered? They started showing you that?
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was when I got to and it wasn't like I surrendered and everything was rosy. It was more I surrendered in a way where I looked at myself and I thought, well, you've got one or two choices here, kid. You either surrender and let go of everything that you think you are, or you stay right where you are. It's your choice, mate. And I decided to let go. But yep. I had to work on the anger first, which is, it's not that I was an angry person. I was just fucked off with life because life was too hard and too confusing. But I surrendered in a way where I started to have a look to see if this was real. So it was like I surrendered my personality first. I surrendered that part of me that fought everything, that disbelieved everything, that hated everything, that was afraid of everything. Because I had PTSD and things like that. I was between a shit and a shiver, you know.
So when you started to let go, how did that change it? Yeah.
How it changed me. It stopped me from fighting everything. So I didn't fight anymore in a way where I believed that I wasn't worth it, and I didn't fight the anger. It was the opposite of what people. You can fight for your life, yes, but the rest of it, I realized that the more I fought it, and the more I went at things, like if I was angry or frustrated or terrified, the more I went at it and the more I fought it, the worse it got. So I had to learn that any time that stuff come up, that I was just to surrender, accept it was there. That's a part of who I am, but there might be more to me than that. That might be just what I'm going through at the moment. It might not even be real. It's just a part of my personality or a part of the stress and the trauma that I'm facing. I'm facing my life, for Christ's sake. I could die, you know what I mean? So I realised that it may not even have been really who I was, that it might be what actually is just what's going on. I was just reacting to what's going on. So by realising that, I went, well, okay, well, if I surrender to all that feeling of the fear and the PTSD and the war that's going on inside me, maybe it'll go away. Maybe I don't have to fight like that. You know what I mean? Because all I'm doing is punishing myself and sabotaging myself and making myself worse. And I will not heal. I will die if I keep doing that. So that's where my surrender started. I started to accept that I was angry. I accepted that I was terrified. I accept that I was traumatized by it all. And it started to make me feel like I wasn't alone anymore, in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think that's when my true connection started to come in, is when I started to realize that I'm not alone like I think, that I actually can ask for help and help might come. And it's not easy because you have to literally get everything out of you to get there. You've got to absolutely get rid of your personality, anything that's inside of you that's in the way of you finding that peace or that good part of you has got to go. You can't hang on to any of it. So Yeah, so it started with the fact that I knew I had PTSD. I knew that I had an anxiety disorder, and because I knew that I was in shock. That's what half the problem was. I was living in stress and shock. And the only way I could beat that was to walk straight into the middle of it and face it. I had to look at it. I had to show itself, pretty much, Show me who you are then. Show me. I'll walk straight in the middle of you if I have to. I'll walk right into the center of that terrified person that's sitting right in the middle of me, who will scratch your eyes out if you come too close because she's so afraid. I'm going to face her. I'm going to get right in the middle of her. And I know it's going to make me feel worse. I know it's going to make me 10 times more PTSD, terrified and anxious than I'm feeling right now. And I went, you know what? I don't care. I'm willing to do that if that's what it takes for me to make it. I'm going to face every damn thing that's inside there. And I remember walking right into the middle of the worst of it. And I remember how big it got. And I remember going, oh, shit, this might take me out. I knew. I went, this might take me out. This is stronger than me. This might actually kill me. And I went, well, it's me or it. So I stayed in there and I sat with it and I allowed it to get as big as it wanted to be. So I said, get as angry as you want. Get as afraid as you want. If you're going to go hard. Start growling, off you go. And I sat right in the center of it. And I waited and I waited and I waited. And I just kept doing it and I kept doing it and I kept facing it. And then one day I realised that I'd cracked it because I'd come out and I'd had a couple of hours where I didn't feel like that. And I went, oh, shit, hang on. Something's happening here. What's going on here? Why don't I feel like that at the moment? Why am I laughing? Why am I happy all of a sudden? Why am I feel free all of a sudden? You know what I mean? What's going on here? Because I was so used to living in trauma, I knew nothing other than trauma. I knew nothing other than shit and shiver, fight or flight, all that jazz. And and I faced death as well. I saw death while I was in there. I saw, the angel of death, as I call, is an angel of mercy. He or she, it is your savior. It's not a demon. It's not bad. That I faced the angel of death nose to nose. I remember looking at it nose to nose, right in the eye, and I said, "Well, here I am. What are you going to do about it?" And I remember it just looking at me, and it had such respect for me and such love for me, the fact that I'd even faced it, that it's pretty much sort of told me that it was proud of me and congratulations for facing me. So from that day forward is when my turnaround changed and when I started to walk into the new me, the person who was not as afraid and isn't going to die, it doesn't have cancer and things like that. That's when I broke it. I broke it by sitting right in the center of it. It was a pretty powerful experience. There's not many people who can go in there and face death and come out. Most people don't make it. I knew it. I knew when I went in there, I went, well, this is a risk because if I go right in the center of what I've got and what's going on here, that fear and that trauma, I might not be strong enough and I might not make it. And I went, well, so be it. C'est la vie. But I've got to. I don't have a choice. If I want to live, I've got to go there. I've got to give it all it's got. And it was not easy, I can assure you. It was a battle.
So once you made that transformation and you had that shift, what sort of things started happening to you? What sort of things changed around you?
Well, it wasn't the cancer thing, and that I realised that even though I was having tests and getting checked all the time and things like that, nothing was changing. Nothing was coming back. You know what I mean? I was sitting in like a stasis where I was sitting in nowhere. I called it no man's zone because there was nothing really going on. And then from there, I still had some anxiety and social issues and things like that. I still had to face that. But then I noticed that I started getting only glimpses. It wasn't a lot. It was just little droplets of peace. And then I'd get I could hear better. My psychic stuff started to drip in. I realized that I was able to do and read people and pick up things like when I was a kid, but better. And I was right about things. That's how I sort of knew, by people's responses to what I was doing. And so I would just keep at it. I'd just keep going, okay, try again. have another go, see what else is going on in here. I kind of allowed the psychic and all the other stuff to come in when it was ready. I didn't push it, and I didn't because I said still by then I didn't believe in myself, believe it or not, even though I'd gone through all that. So I allowed it to just drip in and allowed it to come when it was ready. I always had the desire, though. I wanted it. I really did. I wanted something in my life to actually make me proud of myself in another way other than just human everyday shit. So the fact I think that I really wanted it too helped. And then it was like I didn't even realise it had happened. And I was doing like just reading shit because my husband and I spend a lot of time. We spend hours talking about everything. You name it, we talk about it on every level that you can imagine. So I think by us sharing in that way, I think it started to open me up faster later on. And then we would make little jokes and laugh because we go, oh, fuck me, look, that happened. Oh, look, that happened. Oh, that was true. Oh, look what happened there. And then I'd do little clearings on him and he'd go, oh, I feel better and things like that. So it was sort of that sort of thing. It was a bit of a joke for us in a way. We were like 2 5-year-olds. It was either fart jokes or it was spirituality. So we'd go to one extreme to the other. We're sort of, we're never normal. We're never normal. Never have been, never will be. And I think the fact that we did that helped me to accept it, and that's when it started to come in more so. So I just went with the flow. I just went, well, this is what it's supposed to be. I'll just accept and just see where it goes. That's all I can do. And I just stayed like that. I stayed in that place. I just allowed it to do what it wanted to do, and I didn't sort of force it too much. You know what I mean? I tried to do it as easy as I could because I knew because of the anxiety that I was still facing, because I was still facing my life, I knew that the anxiety might get in the way a little bit because I still had a bit of it left in there. So I was aware that you've got to be, emotionally pretty strong and have yourself together a little bit to be in this sort of place, So I just kept walking forward every day, one step after the other. And we learn to laugh at everything. So, I do take what I do very seriously, don't get me wrong, but we learn to laugh and poke jokes at everything. So we poke jokes at my gifts. We poke jokes at when I'm right and things like that. And I think that helped me let go and accept myself a little bit by not taking it seriously. I couldn't allow myself to be so methodically serious about it all because it terrified me when I did. If I thought, well, shit, there's such a responsibility in here when you're working like this with other people. You're responsible for so much. I was terrified that if I took it too seriously, I couldn't do it. And I would hurt somebody or make a mistake. And I'm the sort of person that it has to be real for me and it has to be true or I won't do it. I'm no halfway person. You know what I mean? I have to know it's fact, it's real. I won't just go in and go maybe, or maybe I can, or I might give it a go sort of thing. It has to be absolute for me. So, yeah.
So you've so all this stuff is happening and it's been ordained.
Yep.
So what place has that led to you to do at this point in time?
Well, I would say probably the last 2 years, but mainly probably the last, it's been a while, but I'd say the last 6 months have had the biggest impact for me. I've found that I'm able to be an absolute place of surrender, and it's no more doubt. It's no more. I still get nervous, as everyone does, because it's performing, but I don't have any. I think I have such a passion for it that I don't doubt anymore. So what happened in that is that my heart love for myself and the love for what this is and where it comes from and who works with me and where we're connected to when we're this sort of person, my love for it got so big, and my desire for that love got so big that everything started to happen really fast. Like I think because I just finally accepted. I can. It was a place of absolute surrender, and it was like do or die. You know what I mean? Like, this is it. You're going to do it. Off you go. And I jumped off a cliff basically, and I didn't have a clue where I was going to land. I went, dude, that's a risk, because what if you're full of shit and you can't back it up? You know what I mean? So yeah, probably it's been going on for a few years. My abilities have been very sharp, and I knew I can do things. Been doing it for a long time in that way. But I've noticed that it's not that long ago that it truly, that part of me that is in that Christ energy, that's when that started to come in, and that loving feeling, my vibration changed. And they talk about elevating. I suppose you call it elevating. I elevated into a completely different whoever I used to be. She's gone. She's still a smart ass, and she's 5 years old inside, and she loves fart jokes. But I know that person that I have been for the last 20 years, or probably all my life, she's gone. It's like she laid down. I even asked her to surrender and lie down. I don't need her anymore. So it's like it's really weird. It's like I was removed. I'm gone. And I only got the traces of my personality and who I am and who I survive as while I'm here, being normal. That's like a survival technique. I rely on that to function in this planet, you know. But that other part of me, whoever she was or whatever she was, she's gone. She was taken. And I felt her go. I felt it all. I did nothing then. I didn't really do bugger all for that to happen. It just happened for me. As I said, shit happens for me all the time.
Yeah. Just time.
Just time, I think. Yeah, just the right time to do it. And yeah, I know I'm different. I can feel it inside me. I can feel the warmth and love and that unconditional stuff. I never, ever had that. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that, because my husband said I've had it all my life. He calls me the Pied Piper, the licky licky. He said I have a vibration that people, and it's very strange, but it's true. People like to lick me and touch me and hug me and shit like that. It can get a bit stranger in the supermarket. He said I have something that people, I've had people sniff me. It's weird. So whatever this is, whatever this vibration is, which is the Christ energy and the creative energy, it vibrates something through me that draws people to me. And it's always, even when I'm out, it's odd. It's people that are generally probably have no love inside and desperately want it. So they're drawn into that love vibration that pumps out of me.
Yep.
And I can feel it when it's on. It's ginormous, and it's like a little light bulb. And it just it sucks in people like a little vacuum. And people say to me, "Oh, you must feel great," and they ask me all these questions, and I sort of go, "No, it's not what you think." I would have thought I'd become a bit egotistical and think I'm the fucking bee's knees and shit. Look at me, stand on the highest mountain, yell out, "Look at me, I'm over here." Complete opposite. I have absolutely no desire whatsoever to feel like that. It doesn't come like that. It doesn't give you that feeling. It doesn't make you egotistical in that way whatsoever. It's very strange. I thought it would.
Yep.
I thought I'd think I was pretty damn special. And, blah, 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 and all that stuff. No, it didn't do that to me at all. It took that away from me. It took that need to be special and that ego stuff out of me. It took away that desire or that any part of me that would misuse this in any way, shape or form. So that was interesting too, because I assumed that I might, because we all want to feel a bit special. We all want to be a bit out there, It won't allow me to. It will not allow me to at all. I have to be humble, and it'll humble me pretty quickly if I don't have my shit together. It'll let me know.
Yeah.
Especially so it's strange.
When you're coming from that place of love, you want to be nothing but humble.
Yeah, you want to be nothing but humble, but it makes you humble. It'll clean you up on the inside if you're not. This is the funny thing. The more you're in this place, the more it'll make you work hard on yourself. And a lot of people talk about when you get to a certain vibration or you get to this energy works through you, that you're clear and you're in a place of perfection all the time. And yes, your life does work like that. Your life, everything is instant, so you can be very careful what you think. You can't go off rail a little bit because it'll bite you in the ass. But it's the opposite. You actually have to do more. You have to work on yourself more. You have to face anything inside of you that's left over, any thoughts, actions, feelings, all the time. You work harder. It's the opposite. A lot of people say, you don't have to work when you're in here. You are just it, and yeah, you are. But it actually makes you work harder. It makes you work on yourself all the time. It never stops because it wants you to be clear. It wants you to stay clear so it can come through you. It doesn't want your personality in the way. It doesn't want you, having this big fat ego. It doesn't want you to be bitchy, moany. It doesn't want you to do any of that, It just wants you to do its work. It just wants you to be, constantly in work zone. And to be in that place, you are always facing yourself. What part of you are you thinking right? Are you behaving right? Are you doing your I'm not big on the word spiritual, so forgive me, but your spiritual work, are you doing that right? Everything is under some sort of law of balance. You can't go left or right. You can't go off the path. You can't do any of that. It's almost like you live in a state of instinct. I don't even like the word karma because that's bullshit too, but it's like a karmic thing. If you don't, dharma. So if you don't stay balanced and you don't keep yourself together, it'll let you know pretty quickly. And it doesn't punish or judge or anything like that. It won't be as strong in you. It'll dissipate a little bit. So you feel like you're without it or you're a bit alone, and you go, oh shit, I don't like that. That's my old self. I don't want to be left alone. So you clean yourself up and off you go again, and that fills back up. So it's a very strange place. Yeah, it's a strange place to be, but it's very rewarding in every way. It's rewarding in what they give you, what you do for others. It's taught me so much. I'm a very sort of psychological person, so I believe in psychology. I believe in working with the mind, what's going on. I'm not really a reader. I've never done cards and things like that. I suppose you call just a channel. So I'm always just working on behalf of the energy itself and whatever they want. So I'm an odd little bunny. I'm not the norm in that way. So
that's very interesting because people think you get to a certain level and people think it's a destination, and there's no destination.
It's never, mate. If you're living and breathing on this planet, you ain't arrived. You know what I mean? You're not home. But we are representative. So you get to this certain vibration, you are representative of it. But you're still a human being. You still got to exist here and live here. So you've got to have an understanding of you can be this, but you've got to also live in a reality of that you exist here. So you have to be real with yourself all the time. You can't be too fantasyful in your belief. So you can't do too far out in the wild zone where you only follow a certain belief system. You have to marry the two worlds together. You can be from this, but you also have to remember you live here on the earth. So you have to be realistic with everything you do, even the weird stuff. Even, if I get outside the box and in the rabbit hole and see all sorts of things and channel all sorts of things, I am still required to remember that I have an earth life and that I have responsibility here while I'm here to learn and to respect what they've given me, which is also like my marriage and things like that. I can't deny my life, I can't go hide away in a little whatever. Yep, in a spiritual world and go, I'm just spiritual, and go, no, I'm here to learn as well. I'm not elevated where I've learnt everything and I know everything. That's not how it works. I am constantly reminded that I'm here learning no matter what. So it's not easy because I was, I've heard from so many people and told that to get to this level, to get to these places when you're like this with this energy working through you, that you have no worries and your life is a perfection because the universe provides everything. And I went, that's true to a point, but there's still that other party that has to realize you live in a reality which is here. So you've got to be responsible. You've got to be responsible for your human self. You can't lose your shit. You know what I mean? So I still am normal. I still see things in reality. I don't deny and live in an unreality. You've got to be very careful of being that person. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a strange existence. It's a very strange place.
That would be like an unbalance, you know, the foundation of being.
It is, and you can lose yourself in there a little bit and become if you're not careful, you go too far out the rabbit hole and forget your human self, and you only see everything as just spirituality and things like that. You deny yourself a little bit and you trip yourself up. And I've seen a lot of people in this position that can't support themselves and live in an unreality of sorts where they feel their imperfection. I go, no, you're not actually, because you're still a human being, and we're full of imperfections. So, don't deny who you are. Don't deny that you're still here. Don't go too far down the rabbit hole. You know what I mean? Stay a bit realistic. Because I've seen so many people that become like that they can't even earn money. They can't feed themselves, and they lose that reality of, it's they call the 3D. You still got to exist here, and they become aggressive when they have to stay in the 3D. They become a bit aggressive and a bit defensive because they only want to stay in spirituality, in that zone, the rabbit hole where everything's only this or only that, and it ruins their lives. I've seen it over and over and over. And I always tell them, look, you can be as weird as you want. You can have as many gifts as you want. You can be right out there and be the best of them. But if you don't stay anchored here, you're going to live in a reality where you see everything as either defensive or offensive. You're defensive at everything, you know. Hang on. I got rats. That was good. Off it goes. Scoot. You going? Go. No, only one wants to. So they become very defensive at everything. So they go, well, I'm only spiritual, so everything outside of that I am either angry at or defensive at, or they get upset at because their belief system keeps mirroring where they're not in the right place. They're not living in reality, and they get a bit upset because the universe is not providing or blessing or giving them their perfectness, you know. And I go, that's because there's no such thing for us as human beings in that way. We can have perfection, but there's no perfection per se, as in, you know, you're still human, you're still learning. So they forget that a little bit. They forget that they're learning lessons regardless of what or where they are, what their gifts are, what their elevation is. They're still learning. And they get a bit cranky, even get cranky at the universe for that. And I go, well, that's a bit naughty. You know, just living is a little bit naughty, but anyway. So what do? You know, they don't want to know, so you don't push it. I don't push it. So, but being here is I do find that I can trigger people.
Yep.
So people want to be healed or helped. One of the unfortunate sides of being here is that you can trigger people. So if they've got anything unhealed or in an unreality of their belief system or of themselves in any way, shape or form, you can trigger them. But what they don't understand is you're triggering them because you're trying to show them what's wrong. You're trying to show them what's left inside of them that's traumatized. You're trying to show them their triggers so they can heal and things like that. So that's, I find most of the time it is no drama, but I'll get one or two here and there occasionally that they don't like it because they go, but I don't want to know that I've got any faults. I've worked on everything. I go, no, you haven't. You can't, because I just triggered you. But I'm triggering you because I'm trying to get inside you to heal you. I want you to release your traumas. I want you to be happy. I want you to be at peace. I want you to be healed. You know what I mean? So I've got to crack you a little to get in there, and I find that can be a little bit hard for me. It'll go either way. Either they'll be happy about it or they get a bit cranky. So that's only probably out of everything I do, that's probably one of the hard things, is knowing that one of my jobs is my mission here is to crack people open a little bit. And it's not judgmental and it's not harm. It's just I will mirror them. So if they're not healed, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a little bit.
Is anyone truly healed?
No, not at all. They can be healed to a point where they will learn to love and accept themselves with all their faults. This is what it's about. I will trigger you to show you what's wrong and what's gone wrong, but it's in a way that so that you can reach a place where you'll accept yourself as you are. So you'll accept your faults, you'll accept your traumas, you'll accept all of it, and you won't fight it and you won't deny it anymore in that way, and you can be healed from that. You know what I mean? You can be healed by realizing that it's okay to be a bit of a mess or a bit wrong or a bit confused or a bit fucked up. It's okay, you know? It's okay. That's part of who we are. It's this belief in perfection, as I say, is a bit unrealistic. You are who you are, you know? We are the race that we are here. We've been created this way for a reason. You can't deny it. You can't deny who you are and why you're here, and that we have all these things inside of us that might be a bit not very nice, you know? That's just the way it is. You know, it's you don't have to be upset about that. Just face it and accept it. Accept that's who you are. Accept that you might have a bit of a shitty personality sometimes, and it's okay, you know. But just don't go around hitting people with sticks. Don't go around punishing other people because that's how you feel. That's the problem. That's the problem. Is when you go around, and we're all guilty of it. We all do it. But when you intentionally do it, well then there's a problem. So yeah, I am an egg cracker, as I call it. And like I said, about 99% of people, when you come through them that way and to heal them, are more than happy because they want it gone anyway. They want it over with. They don't want to feel like that anymore.
Absolutely.
But you will get the odd. I get the ones I get usually the ones that are a bit egotistical and think they're perfect and they're clear, or they've got nothing really to work on, or well, they go, but I've worked on that. I've worked on that just recently, and I've done it once. I go, but your life's still a mess, and you're still all fucked up. So something's wrong, mate.
It's like there's layers. You know what I mean?
There's layers upon layers.
You work on something, then you work on something else.
There'll be
you go down a few layers.
Yeah,
there'll be a
something
spot
that you've missed. Yeah. But you can't get through them like that. And what I'll do is that I eventually will just back away and accept that that's just where they're at. It's not my place anyway to force it out of them. And I don't want to anyway. Like, I don't want to be responsible for all that. You know, you're supposed to, I can help you, but you're supposed to do it yourself. I can only give you the tools. I'm not doing it for you. And I do find that a lot of that, one of the hardest things for me is that people handing their life over and expecting people like us to walk their journey or to make them feel so good that they never have to face anything. They don't understand that we're not allowed to do that. That's karmic tying. We're not allowed to do their journey for them. But I understand that. It's because it's painful. They don't want to face it. It hurts too much. I get that. I've been there. But you don't have a choice. You have to. That's what it's all about.
I noticed that because there's some people I want to help and some people want to fix to help them release, but
they won't.
And they're like, oh yeah, I want to be healed, and you realize that look, there's everything's around there to be healed, but unless you're going to do the work,
that's right,
to bring you to that point, it's
not going to happen. Yep.
Yeah.
And they will say, I'm ready to be healed. I'm ready to do this. I'll work hard. I'll do this and that. And then you'll say to them, okay, well, this is the problem, or this is the trigger, or this is what's in you and the trauma, whatever it is. Doesn't matter. It could be just something really minute. And they'll fight you on it.
Yeah.
They'll fight you in some way. So I give it a little bit of time, because not for me to judge it. They do it in their own time. They don't have to do it when I tell them to. So I give them a bit of time, and I see where it goes, because it can take some people sometimes to absorb it all and understand it and realise what it means and what it's about and why. So it takes them a while to understand the information. Some people are quicker. Other people can take quite some time. Depends how willful you are and whether you're willing to face that sort of pain and to get rid of it. Because when you're going to be healed, you've got to go in and face the pain, and it's no fun. It's not for the faint-hearted. So I understand that people, it's too hard, and I get that. It's too hard sometimes. So I give them a period of time. and I'll work for a while, and then I see where they're at. And if I feel that that's as far as they're going to go, even if they think that they can, I know my team will tell me, and I'll feel it that they can't, or they're not ready, and I have to find a way to back out. I have to explain to them that from here, it's up to them where they go with that, and they have to do it themselves. The next step is for them to do it themselves. They have to take whatever has been given to them and explain to them or shown, and they have to now walk it and feel it themselves. They have to walk into the pain and the suffering. And you can't blame them for not wanting to do that, not wanting to face it, you know.
No,
it's not easy. Like I said, I've done it. It's not for the faint-hearted at all. It is probably the hardest thing a human being has to do is face themselves, because, you know, you don't know what's in there. You don't know what's right down the bottom.
you do all that work, and you do all that healing and move forward, and you think you've come so far, which you have. But it reminds me, I remember the old Monkey Magic.
Yes, I remember that show.
He was on the cloud, and he was talking to Buddha, and he's going like, you know, he's this and he's that, and the Buddha's like, well, fly to the edge of the earth. And then he flew to the edge of the earth, and there was a pillar, and he put his mark on the pillar. Then he came back to Buddha, and Buddha just puts up his hand and saying, like, you know, and there's the mark that he put on the pillar. It's like there's no measurement, there's no distance.
I've been there, done that. And the universe or them, they will say to you, yeah, you did it once and you've done one millimeter of it. Keep going.
Yep.
You've got yards and yards to go type thing. You've got forever. So, and and as I said, if you want to get out of where you are, and whether it's health issues or move on into what people call elevation, which is all that is just you're in a better place. You're accepting who you are, and you're a better person. But not everyone can do it. It's just the way it is. It's an extremely difficult, very painful process, and to become elevated is even more painful, because you will face things that you had no idea were even in there. People will cry a river when they find out what's deep down inside, you know. Because you've got to face all sorts of things: genetic dispositions, bloodline stuff, memories that you might have forgotten. It's really hard. It's really hard. And as I said, I'll find people will either be grateful, or if it's really deep down pain and trauma, they will act out. And I'm used to that. I'm used to them acting out because I'm triggering. That's part of my job. I take the hits, you know what I mean? But it'll only go on for so long. And if the hit's go on too long and they won't face the fact that it's a mirror image of how they feel about themselves and who they are, and it goes on too long, well, then I back out, because I'm not here to be hit because you have something unhealed. Because it's easier to hit someone else than it is to face yourself. You know what I mean? Feels better. Feels easier to lash out and blame or whatever to someone else than it is to face yourself, because you don't want to believe that you're like that. You want to believe that you're imperfect. Yeah, so
but
not an easy job.
When you understand you're just human, it's not so bad.
Yeah, but not everyone does.
I think it'd be more painful to go back to the way life used to be.
That's how I see it.
That scares the crap out of me.
Oh, never.
I'm like, no way. I'm not going back there.
Ever in a million years will I go back. Never, ever. I will kick my own ass if I do that. I went, you cannot possibly have come this far to allow yourself to act like that and trigger like that. You've got no right. I always tell myself, you've got no right to do that after what was done for you and how far you've come so fast, and what you had to go through to get there. You know, people look at me, and because I've got a very good life, I've been extremely blessed in many ways. But and people look at me and go, oh, it's all right for you. You're so lucky. Oh, you know, your life's blah, blah, blah. They have not got a goddamn clue how I got here. They never ask, but they've got no idea the pain and suffering that I had to go through. I mean, you talk about Jesus on the cross, mate. I've been fucking crossed over 3 or 4 times. I didn't get once. You know, I had to really the pain and suffering to get to here. That belief in the Christ or what he went through, oh, it's real, mate, in that aspect. You get crucified to get here. And it's not pain and suffering as in judgment. It's just what you've got to go through to get to this place. So it's not pretty. It's not. I did not get blessed as in it got handed to me, and here you go, you blessed little butterfly. It was like, fuck me, I went through the bells of hell to get here on every level, So
they've got no attachment to the journey. They just see the outcome.
Pretty much, yeah.
Like when they look, you look at the rich, like say you look at the rich guy at the end of the road and go, oh, look, he's got it all made, the perfect wife, the perfect house, all those cars. Yeah. But they don't understand is he sacrificed all his life, to just work, just to work.
Worked his ass off. He made him, as I did, made myself a promise that if I keep pushing and fighting for my own self, that I knew one day I might be free. So I just kept fighting and I kept pushing. And none of it was pretty and none of it was easy. So it was not handed to me. I did not wake up one day and go, I'm a psychic medium and I've got this and that and all my gifts are wonderful. I had to earn my fucking place of where I am right now. And it's, as I said, there's many will be called. It's an old saying, and many will be called here, but very few will come and very few will stay and very few will make it. And that's a fact. There's very few that can get to where we are. They don't understand the work involved. And they deny a lot of it too. They feel that they have work to get here, but I can tell, normally I can tell by the personality of someone how they react to situations or others, things in general, as to what elevation or place they're at. And there's a lot I've run into who have claimed to be of the light workers, etc., but their behaviour is completely opposite. It does not back up. They don't back up and they're not walking their talk. You got to walk your talk to be here. You really do. Otherwise, they will shut you down. So I'm telling you now, they'll shut you down. You might still have some gifts that are brushing around, you're not too bad, but they'll actually shut down that Christ in you. They'll shut it all off. And they'll take it away.
You're inspiring me to work harder now. I'm starting to feel like a half-ass.
No, I was a half-ass. I didn't want to do it either. But what happened for me is that when I got the cancer, I knew I didn't have a choice then. I couldn't half-ass anymore. It's I either do it or I die. And I've got to come back again and do it all again. And I was like, it'll be 10 times worse. I fucking know it will be. There's no rodeo here. I knew it. I knew I had to. Then there's no choice to be. They will bless you. You can enter the kingdom of heaven, as they say, and they will bless you. But by Christ, you better earn your stripes to get there. So you don't just do meditation and all that sort of stuff, and you arrive and you're there. It doesn't happen like that. That's not how it works. It works by you. I've had many lifetimes. Like, I'm an extremely old soul. I remember having a vision once. This is before I even knew anything about all this. And I remember trying to try meditation in a little gathering once, and they did a past lifey thing. And I thought, oh fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. Close my eyes. We'll see. I thought I'll probably start snoring. I better not go to sleep. And so I laid there and everyone else is all magical and everything's going so wonderful. And I'm like, nothing's really happening. And the next minute, bang, I got taken and I felt myself getting pulled back, kept going way back lifetimes. Didn't even get a chance to see what the lifetimes were. And I stopped and I went, where the bloody hell am I? And I went, where is this? And I realized that I was right at the beginning of creation. I was sitting there, and the stars were moving very rapidly and they were really, really close, and everything was really odd, nothing like we know it is today. And I couldn't understand it, but years later, we realised that I had gone back to beginning of time. So I've been here a very long time. I'm not an earth seed, I'm definitely a star seed, but my existence was right back in the beginning somewhere for sure. What I did back then, I had no bloody idea. I just remember sitting there and I was conscious. I knew that I'd been placed here. I knew I'd arrived, but the earth wasn't really formed like it is now. So that was a very weird experience too. Yep. And that's all I remember of it. There wasn't much else that went on. I just remember realizing that I was at the beginning of something, in the beginning of whatever this planet was and things like that. So, yeah, I've experienced some weird shit.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm no ordinary bunny. So, yeah, it's been fun, but it's not been fun. So I said, I don't recommend it. No, I do, but I don't. I'm like, oh, are you sure?
So if you could go back a few years to when you started waking up and give yourself some advice, what advice would you give yourself?
I would tell myself to keep fighting. Don't ever doubt yourself. Don't ever not fight for who you are as a human being. Don't ever give up on yourself. Don't allow yourself to give yourself away to anybody. Don't surrender who you are to anyone else so they'll like you and think you're wonderful and be your little friend. Don't give your soul away or your spirit away to anybody. Don't give your gifts away to anybody. Don't allow yourself to lie down and be a servant in a way where you get treated poorly and walked all over all the time. You have to protect yourself. You have to be strong, and you have to remember that you're worth more than that. You can't see. I was the sort of person who I would do whatever it was, and I would sacrifice myself as a servant. I didn't care if I was hurt, harmed, left for dead. I will do it just so the fact that they might think that there's something about me worthwhile, or they might like me. I will never do that again. And I've been through that just recently, and I won't go into it, not on here. That was my last real test. I knew there was going to be another one because 20 years ago, what I went through, I repeated just recently, and I repeated it with exactly the same person, with the same beliefs, same personality, everything. It was mind-blowing. And I knew, my gut from the day one, I knew it was a test. And I hung in there, and I made an ultimate mistake. I returned to 20 years ago where I gave myself away because I was afraid of not being liked, and I was anxious all the time, and I was terrified. And I was afraid of if I don't be what they want me to be and act or do as they want all the time to make them happy, I'm going to be in trouble. And I let my guard down, and I relived that 20 years ago that I couldn't heal at that time because I didn't get a chance to fix all that. I just had to, it was taken away from me, and I never got to heal it. So I hung on to the memory, and I hung on to the how it made me feel. So I still carried that trigger and trauma in me. And I knew one day that I'd probably get a chance to work on that and get rid of it. And it never happened, but it happened recently. And yeah, I'll never do it again. That was my last. That was my last keeping the peace and doing everything for someone else to make someone else happy, and denying myself and harming myself in the process. It got so bad for me that they actually pushed me out. They said to me, they gave me a choice. And it was funny that I read this. This is 20 years ago exactly, like identical in every way. There was nothing that was different. That was the weird part. And they said to me, make a choice. Get off your ass and be who you are and walk your talk and do what you're supposed to do and what you're here for. Or stay where you are with the person that you're with to please them and make sure that they're happy about everything you do and how you do it so that they're always happy. What are you going to do? You're going to give yourself up? You're going to lie down and be a victim and surrender again? Or you're going to get the fuck off your ass? And they swore at me and everything. Get off your fucking ass and be who you're supposed to be. And you stand strong in your sovereignty and believe in yourself. Don't you ever lie down and do that again. You haven't got time. You're not here for that. So make your choice. Here it is. It happened this one morning, and I knew it was coming because I was really anxious. I was off my oats, as they say. I went, shit, here we go. Something's happening. And I lost my peace, and it went on for a very long number of weeks before I eventually listened. And they said to me, so you do it. Or they pretty much told me if I don't, and if I stay here with this person and stay in this mindset and lie down to please someone so they like me, I'm done. Even my gifts might be gone. Everything. If you're going to give yourself away to someone else's will to the will of a human being just to make someone happy so they like you, well, then what the fuck are you here for then? What are you doing? It'll be all over. So it hurt like hell. It was a very, very confronting thing, very hard. But they gave me no choice. They said, you are repeating. This is what you went through 20 years ago. And we've brung you this person for that reason. This is your last thing to get rid of. So are you willing to face it? Can you face the fear of it? Can you face the trauma that it's probably going to create? And it took me 2 days to get through that. And I didn't feel very well, I can tell you now. And in the end, they said, it's us or nothing. And I went, okay, I'll take my responsibility and I'll do what I'm here for. And I walked, and I haven't looked back since. And it's funny, while I was in amongst that, it's similar to the 20 years ago when nothing would happen for me. Doors wouldn't open. People wouldn't come to me. Lots of things like that. Just things were shut down, and I knew that then there was red flags everywhere, and I was ignoring them. And once I did as I was told and made them the promise that I will do what I'm here for, and I'll never surrender my spirit to anyone ever again in any way, no matter who they are. It changed overnight. My whole everything changed. Even my abilities came back in better, and it was a very strange experience. And I went, well, it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's my fault. I'm to blame for all of it. I'm to blame for laying down. I cannot afford to do that. I'm not here to do that. And they didn't do all this work on me and give me everything that I've got for me to do that. But yeah, it was my mistake. It was a weakness I had. And that is probably the biggest thing that I would tell myself. Don't ever do that again. Don't ever deny yourself for someone else to make them happy, especially if it's your what you're here for. If is part of your what they call mission or whatever they want to say. You're here for a reason. We didn't give you this for nothing. We're not working with you to please someone else. You're not here for the will of man. They keep telling me you are here for the will of the Creator. You cannot be here under control of another person, or no matter who it is. And yeah, that hit home. Don't worry about that. I fucking got the message loud and clear. And the day I did, that whole journey that I went through, that whole 20 odd years of all this was cleared. It was gone. So it was worth it. It was worth that pain for that period of time to go through that, to have that sort of release. And then all that love and all my abilities and the Christ energy just exploded inside of me. My reward was by being so grateful. Even though I was hurt, I was grateful for the lesson. That was the key. The key is when you go through anything, no matter what it is, instead of fighting it and causing drama, if you just see what the lesson is and be grateful for the lesson and understand what you're learning here, it will be released immediately. That's the key to getting out of things. Always see the lesson and say, even if you don't like the lesson, I didn't like it either, but I went, thank you, I'm grateful that you gave me that. And then the morning I said to myself, I'm so grateful, even though it hurt and it's not very nice, and I'll be looked at as the bad person, it is worth it. I am grateful. And as soon as I said that, everything got lifted off me, and all this energy came in, all this unconditional love. I was transformed immediately. It was bizarre. So that's, if it was anything I would tell myself, it would be that don't you ever deny who you are for another person again in your life. How dare you do that to yourself after what you've been through and what you've learned and what they've taught you? How dare you deny your spirit, and how dare you deny them? You have no right to do that. Yeah, you have no right to do that.
That makes absolute sense.
Absolutely no right. No matter who it is, even your besties, But generally your besties won't do that to you. You'll find the besties or your tribe won't treat you like that. That's how you know that they are your tribe. So, yeah, it's interesting. So, yeah, if you want to release anything real fast with anybody or anything, you don't fight. You don't go to war. You don't. They'll turn on you like a mongrel dog. Don't worry about that. That's who they are. But you don't become them, and you don't become that at all. You see the lesson, and you recognise the lesson, no matter how painful it is, and you go, "Thank you. I'm so grateful that that's happened," and it'll go. It'll be released from you immediately, and it can change your life. I've been through this more than once as proof that it can change your life. Even with the cancer, I did the same thing, and it changed my life. So it's worth the battle. It's worth never, ever deny yourself for any reason. Even if you're struggling with something you think you might be wrong, maybe, don't deny yourself. Don't deny any part of who you are, especially if you're people like us and you're in it for the right reasons, and you're not a bit of a nasty Nelly. You don't ever lie down. Don't ever lie down. You have no right to. You have no right to not only treat yourself like that, but treat those that work through you and that you're connected to, which is either God or the Creator. You have no right to do that. Not when you fought this hard to get here. You know what I mean? So it was my mistake. Won't happen again.
There's a responsibility.
Absolute responsibility. And by being like that and being and admitting that you were to blame by laying down like that, so it is all your own fault, they will bless you. They bless you because you've honoured the part of you that made the mistake and it is at fault. Even if it's not your fault, doesn't matter. It's still you are at fault, and they will bless you by being honest about the whole situation. So yeah, they work in mysterious ways. Put it that way. It's not always like you think. Layers come off in many different ways. Release happens in many different ways. So I never see anything as nothing. You know what I mean? It's all, even the bad stuff. I go, oh, well, okay, here we go. And
lesson everything.
Absolute lessons and everything, whether you like it or not. That's what they are. So yeah. So it's hard.
They're saying we didn't say you had to like it. That wasn't part of it.
That's what they say to me. We didn't tell you it was going to be fun. I said, well, you said it might be fun. They said, yeah, but we didn't say it's going to be fun. But the fact that it got, you know what? The fact that it was an absolute repeat of 20 years ago was mind-blowing, right down to every millisecond of the person itself. Like, you go, really? If I didn't get that message loud and clear, there's something wrong with me. Well, there's no way I've made that shit up. You know what I mean? So I knew that I hadn't, because I never got a chance to release or fulfill or get my say back then. I was dismissed, put it that way. So 20 years ago, I was dismissed. That was the way that person handled it. And this time I got dismissed. So I knew I was repeating. When they dismiss you, go, oh, fuck, here we go again. Yeah, well, shit happens. That's and I was so blessed by it. It was worth it. It was so worth it,
Awesome.
Leaps and bounds since. It's bizarre. So it was very valuable for me to go through that. I'm sure there'd be something else, but the funny thing is I'm not the same person since. I'll never lie down again, and I will never be used either, and I'll never be blamed because I used to get blamed a lot by people that won't either walk the talk or work on themselves. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but you got to. That's what you're here for. I have so much strength now and conviction and belief in myself that I won't even allow that either. So you can't cross me. And you can't use me up. There's no way in hell. It's not allowed. My job is to not be used up. I'm not allowed to be used up. So, don't test me. I'm the sort of person, don't test me. It won't end well. You know what I mean?
Well, thanks for being on the show. We'll have to do this again because we were just getting the conversation started.
Yeah, it just gets warmed up. So
it just gets warmed up.
So I'm a whole box of weird, but I'm a good weird. I mean well.
Yeah.
So.
We're only weird to the muggles.
Oh yeah, well that's not my problem that they're like that.
Yeah, that's it. To the magic folk,
wake up a little bit, then they like open your eyes and see there's something else other than yourself, you selfish little fuckers. Stop thinking you're the only, like, I always say to them, you're not the center of your own universe. I'm really sorry about that. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but you are not. You are not the center of your own universe. Other people exist. So this is the way it is, isn't it? Don't get me started. Holy shit. I'm trying to be nice. All right, mate. Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
Anything you'd like
Hope
to
I didn't offend anybody. If I did, too bad.
So sad.
That's life. Welcome to reality. Welcome to the real world. Yeah.
That's it.
All right, my love. Thank you.
Okay.
Night, everyone.
Thanks for coming
See
on.
ya.
Bye.